Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Hey there, Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Hope you're doing well. Today, it is Thursday, the 19th of September. Hey, all the days run together, don't they? We're about 10 days left in the regular baseball season. We'll talk some baseball here on the show. I always end up with something in my eye when the show starts. Probably should do that before. I don't know why. It's not like I don't have my eyes open before the show starts. But anyway, I got about 10 days left here in baseball. As we've talked about all through the baseball season, we'll continue to talk baseball here down the stretch. Not going to abandon you at all. For those of you still playing baseball. And for those of you still playing football, we got a lot to talk about today as well. We'll be visiting with Tyler Buecher, who's with us every Thursday. We'll talk with him in about 30 minutes. We'll break down the situation for Thursday Night Football. He'll give his prop bet of the day, the free one that he gives out. We obviously have a full package over at FantasyGuru.com. Click the subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page. Still plenty of time for you to get involved. If you want to get involved with us for the seasonal aspect, maybe things have started slow and you want a little bit of a boost, sign up for the seasonal package at FantasyGuru.com. Maybe you want to play DFS. Maybe you've been thinking to yourself, yeah, I want to do it. Sign up at FantasyGuru.com. We can help you have success there. And then the wagering package, which is basically spearheaded by Tyler Buecher, that's also available. You can get all three as well. You can combine them. Send a note to support at FantasyGuru.com. Maybe you still want to get baseball, as we've talked about, DFS baseball, DFS wagering. That's still available as well. Send a note to support at FantasyGuru.com. But Tyler will give a free bet here on the show to kind of wet your whistle, if you will. We'll also talk about Thursday Night Football between the Patriots and the Jets, kind of go through the game flow for both teams, what is needed for each team to have a victory tonight. We'll talk also with him about Jordan Love, who might be playing now. What's the situation with T. Higgins, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Joe Mixon? We'll talk about that with him in about a half an hour. Before we get to any of that, we'll talk baseball. As you can see, there are a bunch of names to talk about. I just wiped it out. So how about we do this? There we go. A bunch of names to talk about: Carrol, Stanton, Soderstrom, Correa, Edman, Steele, Junis, Houck, Bello, who's pitching today, Bradford, Quintana, Knack, Bichette, Lindor, Stone, Kershaw, Lynn, and Williamson. Before we get to the baseball talk, I just want to just a little bit of a for me to you kind of thing. The Discord over at FantasyGuru.com, which is part of the package if you get a sign up with us. And there's rooms for everything. There's a DFS room, there's a wagering room, there's a seasonal room, there's a dynasty room. We have all kinds of rooms in the Discord, our chat rooms over at FantasyGuru.com. They're blowing up with questions. And we're all happy to be in there and answering questions, doing the best we can to help you with the success you need on a weekly, daily basis. I will point out something that I was talking with the folks around the water cooler this morning, which is not a water cooler that we talk around because we all work remotely. But one of the things I'm seeing over and over again, and it's something I've talked about over and over again, is this running back, what am I trying to say? Treadmill that everyone is on. And I've said this before, just to reiterate here, you got to stick at the running back position. Each week, dropping a running back for this backup running back, and then next week, dropping that backup for this backup. And I've seen some of you literally the last 4 weeks asking me questions about running through backup running backs. When you're taking backup running backs, Brayan Allen is a great example with the Jets. We'll talk about them later today, obviously. He has 2 touchdowns, and now everyone in the world wants Brayan Allen. He is not startable. NOT, not startable unless Breece Hall is out. It's not. Now, if you have Breece Hall and you didn't take him, you made a mistake. If you had to pay for it on waivers this week with a priority, if you had to pay for it with Fab, okay, but you made a mistake. We've said it all. I've said it at least. All year long, you want to handcuff your running backs, especially the scenario like the Jets where the offense should be effective, especially like the Jets where there's a clear-cut number 2, and especially with the Jets when you spend a first-round pick on Breece Hall. For those of you that want to add Allen because he scored 2 touchdowns, that's fine. You can add him. Don't spend number 1 waiver party to do it if you don't have Hall. Don't spend 25-30% of your budget to do it if you don't have Hall. He's not startable. So I really would encourage everyone to think not just reactively. We try to teach proactive thinking at FantasyGuru.com. And the chase, don't do it. Okay? If people in your league make mistakes and drop players they shouldn't, and this happens daily, then take advantage of it. Okay? But this, what do I do with Kamani Vidal? I've had multiple people ask me about Kamani Vidal because I'm a big Kamani Vidal backer. At no point did I ever suggest, say, or believe that Kamani Vidal would be leading this backfield in week 2 or week 3 or week 4. I never thought that. I never said that. The whole idea with Vidal was to stash him for later in the year. Now, if you don't have Edwards, if you don't have Dobbins, and just grab Kamani Vidal in the 14th round, because what the hell, we liked him at fantasyguru.com, and Kareem Hunt's on the waiver wire, add Kareem Hunt, add it, Brayan Allen, make those moves, because Vidal is a long-term play. Now, if you have Edwards and Vidal, maybe you think differently, and maybe you find a different move. Finally, on this topic, I don't know what it is. I know there are some leagues where you can only have X amount of running backs and X amount of wide receivers and all that. Most leagues, there's no rule for that. It doesn't, in my opinion, going out and adding Jordan Whittington or making moves like that, okay, great. Ray McLeod, fine, whatever. Like, those guys aren't doing anything for you. Those guys are, they're Whittington maybe long-term. Ray McLeod's going to get you 8 points a week. Who cares? Stash the running backs. Most times when people say, hey, I want to add Brayan Allen off the waiver wire, they then say, well, I'm going to drop Kamani Vidal. Drop your second tight end. Drop your 6th receiver. Don't drop your running back. You don't have to do a running back for running back trade. Running backs are golden. When they take over a backfield, they are golden. So I'd be very cautious with going running back to running back. Drop that, drop Ray McLeod. Come on, drop him. Don't be dropping your guys like Vidal, guys like Ray Davis, guys like Jalen Wright. Don't be dropping these guys who 24 hours from now, 4 days from now, could be the number one waiver priority ad in all of your leagues. I would suggest avoiding that mistake if all possible. Okay, let's talk a little bit about some baseball. We'll return to questions. Remember, if you're watching us, and again, I'm Ray Flowers, Fantasy Sports Daily, Monday through Friday, 12 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time. If you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, that's youtube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork. Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ, or even if you're watching on Twitter X at Fantasy Guru site. The first two, Facebook and YouTube, leave your questions or comments. We'll address them later in the show. I see some of them already starting to come in, and we'll address those as we move on. Corbin Carrol, I was talking with Phil Backert, who you all know from SiriusXM. Jeff Mann shows 3 to 6 Monday through Friday, the Elite Sports Show. I had a great time on the show. I'm on with them every Wednesday. We had a great time yesterday talking about this, and Phil and I were talking off air. And Phil, for those of you that don't know, does our IDP for football, and he also helps out with a little bit of baseball. Does some cheat sheets for the DFS. We were joking and talking about Corbin Carrol, and it's like, what the hell is going on with Corbin Carrol? Corbin Carroll's had this messy season, and in the end, it's not going to match expectations, and it's not going to match last year. Okay. By the way, does anyone realize he's one steal away from going 20-30? He had 2 more home runs last night. He's got 21 home runs. All of a sudden, he had no power in the first half. We were all worried about his shoulder. Nothing was going to happen. He's been on fire. He's up to 21 home runs. Oh, and by the way, as bad as he has been this year, he is 1 run away from matching what he did last season. He's going to go 20-30 this year with 120 runs scored. And he was a nobody for 2 months, 2.5 months. Now, he's still hitting 235, and 30 steals compared to 50 is okay. But he has been really good for a long period of time. I think anyone that has him in a keeper league that was nervous 3 months ago, those nerves are gone. Is his shoulder jacked up? He's driving the baseball. He talked all along about there being a mechanical tweak. It seems like that's the case because, again, he's up to 20 home runs now after hitting 2 more last night. There's still some work to do here. But really, when you look at everything, and you see a 325 batting average balls in play, and you see a 260 batting average balls in play this year, it's not that hard to figure out that he could hit 280 again next year. It's really not. So great comeback for him. And the numbers won't match or live up to expectations. But 20-30 with 120 runs scored, if that's a down season for you, yeah, you're pretty good. Now, Giancarlo, Stanton's on the other side of things. Stanton's on the bench last night, was on the bench for the 3rd time in 4 games. And the fact is that Stanton doesn't play defense well. We all know that. The Yankees want to be cautious with the number 1 player they got. I think you could say Soto's number 1, but it's Aaron Judge. Okay, Aaron. They want to give him some time at DH. Even though Alex Verdugo has struggled with the bat, they know he's vastly superior to Stanton defensively. It's not even fair to put him in the same sentence. They brought up Jason Dominguez. Stanton's not playing. And Stanton's 4 for 34. And, Stanton, I gave him credit at the start of the year. saying that, look, he changed his body type up. He gave himself an opportunity. He stopped being Mr. Muscle Fitness and said, I'm going to be in good shape instead of Mr. Muscle Guy and see if that helps me stay healthy. It didn't. He's only played 105 games. And he's got his 25 home runs and 60 RBIs, hitting 230 with a 770 OPS. So he's been the last 2 years. There's no reason to think at this point of his career anything different will occur. He's going to miss a third of the season. He's not going to steal a base. He's a statue on the base paths. I mean, last year he scored 19 times when he didn't knock himself in. The year before that, he scored 22 times when he didn't knock himself in. This year, he scored 21 times when he didn't knock himself in. So, Stanton, you got to forget about Stanton on draft day. Stanton is a 25th round draft pick. He's a reserve pick. He doesn't play. He doesn't run. The batting average isn't there. Doesn't score runs. He has a name. And maybe he gets to 500 home runs in his career. And okay, good career and all that. But he's a nobody in fantasy at this moment in time. Want to talk about Tyler Soderstrom? We talked about him earlier on Monday. Just another, kick in the rear for those of you that are still playing. Soderstrom went 2 for 4 with a home run, 2 RBIs yesterday. He's got 3 hits the last 2 games. He's going to play every day down the stretch here, as we talked about, as a catcher option. If he's in your league, available at that spot, he's a really good play down here the stretch here. He's going to play every day. Days have a pretty good offense. Rooker's been terrific. Butler's been fantastic in the second half. Soderstrom, hits the ball very hard. We talked about this when he came off the injured list. Just a little, bump there that Soderstrom, he's catcher eligible. Even if he's not catcher eligible, you're a deep league. You're looking to play some matchups, maybe at the corner infield spot, maybe. But absolutely as a catcher, someone to think about. He's come off the injured list and hit the ball very well here in a couple of games. Carlos Correa has had a very messy season. Plantar fascia took a long period of time for him to recover from, as it does for everybody. He went 3 for 5 with 4 RBIs yesterday. He had a really horrible, if you didn't see the highlight, base hit where kind of didn't mean to swing, but I did. And so, there was some of that. He ripped the ball later in the game. But Correa, he's not Stanton because he's way more athletic than Stanton, and he's only 29 years old. And he plays defense at a very high level. But he's kind of got some of that. I mean, you look, last 2 years, 135, 136 games. It's not the end of the world if someone's playing that amount of games because that's just the era we're in, right? 20 years ago, he'd be less than ideal because everyone else is playing 157 games. Now it's kind of par for the course. But this year, he's only played 78 games. But his bat, is really, you can make the case his bat has never been better. And it's easy to forget because it's all broken up. And hell, he might even be on the waiver wire in your league. I don't know. Depending on your size and everything. He's hitting .315 with 13 home runs, 51 RBIs, and 52 runs scored in 78 games. That's a full season pace of 30, 25, 100, 100. It's really good. 384 on base percentage. It's his best since 2017. 910 OPS, best since 2017. That number's 80 points above his career level. Just wanted to give him a shout out. He's back and hitting again and trying to get the Twins to the promised land. Tommy Edman hit a home run last night. Now, sometimes things happen in small sample sizes, and we played this game a little bit over at fantasyguru.com. People asking questions in the Discord where I'm helping, hopefully, people on a daily basis with their questions. We're playing the short game, right? A lot of you are playing head-to-head, and this is like your finals week, and your every at-bat counts, and every inning pitch counts, and everything like that. And you kind of have to throw out a lot of the, hey, it's a long season stuff because we need it now. Now, a lot of times the production guys are producing, let's say over the last 10 days, is no way possibly sustainable. And a lot of times it's somewhat fortunate because you dive in a little bit and it's like, well, the strikeout rate's way up and so the contract rate sucks. One of those home runs he hit went 343 feet. Is that really a home run? Well, it's a home run in 27 parks, but we got the case of Tommy Edman, who we know who Tommy Edman is. He's a guy who plays at multiple positions, hits 10 home runs, steals 25, 30 bases, hits 260. Okay. He's with the Dodgers now, and he's hitting 5th or 6th, so he hasn't, he's moved up in the order a little bit, but he's not in a position of power in the batting order, understandably, given who they have. But this guy who's a 10 home run hitter, 13 home run hitter, has got 6 home runs this season in 110 plate appearances, which is that's a 30 home run pace. It's way beyond, it's double anything he's ever done before. Note, he's got 6 home runs in 35 plate appearances. He didn't hit one for his first 70 plate appearances with the Dodgers. He's had two home run games, a single home run game and a single home run game. Last night he hit that 6th home run. This is bananas. Completely absurd production. Completely asinine, completely out of the realm of anything anyone could ever predict, expect, all that kind of stuff. But he's doing it. Now, on the negative side, he's hitting .273 with a .314 on-base percentage. So his average and on-base percentage are basically him. So where's this power coming from? Well, his launch angle is 14%. That's elevated a little bit, but that's not, His barrel rate is 5%. That's not good. Exit velocity is 89 miles an hour. That's not good. 40% hard hit rate? Nah. So really, there ain't nothing here that says any of this, logically and statistically, makes any sense. His home run to fly ball ratio is 17%, is 50% above his career mark, and there it is. It's the home run to fly ball ratio. So I'm just pointing out, saying that there's no way, right? But yes, it's happening. Tommy Edman could certainly be floating around on the waiver wire. He's playing every day and he's producing. And hell, he's even hitting some home runs, which is pretty crazy. Justin Steele returned to action yesterday. I had some questions about him, starting him and everything in Discord. And you know me, I'm going to take a sip of water here. Give me a sec. You know me, I basically say, when a guy's coming back from the injured list, even if it's a short stay like it was for Steele, I'm always cautious. Cubs have no reason to push Steele. They can't risk an injury. It was a forearm elbow issue. It was an arm issue. I'm forgetting at the moment. So he comes back and pitches very well against the Athletics. Didn't give up a run. Threw 57 pitches and made it to 2 2/3 innings. So he's got another start against the Phillies coming next week on Monday. Again, at this point in time, I'm expecting Steele to start. Am I expecting him to throw 6 innings? No, I'm not. I don't think you should be either. It's not a great matchup with the Phillies, who have been up and down offensively, but we've talked about it. Everyone knows about the boppers they have. Very low level of excitement about Steele with that next start next week, though he is scheduled again to pitch on Monday and came out of this one healthy. At least that's what we've heard to this point in time. But yeah, tough. If you started Steele today, I feel for you a little bit, but it's not unexpected to see him, with a low pitch count in that return to action. Now, a guy that, I did add in a league. I think we talked about it on Monday because I'm in a 15-team mixed league and everyone's hurt. Added Jakob Junis. And it's like, Jakob Junis, really, Ray? Yeah, that's where we're at, man. And again, I don't think you're at that spot, but that's where I'm at. Well, Jakob Junis goes out against the Braves yesterday and allows 1 run in 6 innings. Was it wise to pitch him against the Braves? Again, I'm in a 15-team leaguer. You're in a 10-teamer? No, I'm in a 15er. He's allowed 2 runs in 19 innings over 4 starts. So that's really good pitching. And if you look at his performance to date, he's got a 2.6 ERA and a 0.8 WHIP in 62 innings. Now, he's been around for a long time. He started, he's relieved. He's been a long reliever. He's not this guy, but he's in a really nice groove right now. He's set to face the Guardians next week if everything stays on. Now, that's not an easy matchup. We saw Josh Naylor finally awaken last night. He struggled of late. Stephen Kwan's on the injured list. If you're still playing next week and you're thinking about innings, Jakob Junis is not the worst, not best, but not the worst option to be thinking about if you're looking at the waiver wire. Tanner Houck returned from injury himself. Injury. Tired arm. I don't know if he was technically injured. Tired arm. He returned and gave up 1 run against the Rays, which was pretty good. But he only pitched 4 innings. He threw 60 pitches. So they were very cautious with him. He's set to face the Blue Jays next time out. That's not a start to fear if you're a Houck owner. But what are we looking at with him? Are we looking at 75 pitches next time out? Are they going to keep him down again? It's very unlikely that they say, oh, go throw 100, kid. So, again, he wasn't a good start yesterday. I don't think he's a good start next time against the Blue Jays unless we get the word that, we're totally comfortable with him throwing 90 pitches. We'll see how he does, but we'll let him throw 90 pitches. If we don't get that, and I'm not expecting we'll get that, Houck will also be his name is cool. The numbers are cool. Pitched pretty well yesterday, cool. But is he going to go 6 innings in this one? Really tough to say. The answer to that is going to be yes. Brayan Bello, by the way, of the Red Sox. The Red Sox did change their rotation up a little bit. I already got a question about him in Discord this morning. Bello will be in the cash game breakdown, the DFS write-up that I'm doing today. He'll be in there. He's one of the top 6 guys. 6-game slate, so it's a small slate, but he's pitching today. He was scheduled to pitch, I think, tomorrow, but they moved him up to today. He's on normal rest, so it shouldn't be an issue for him. It's just an FYI for me to you. If you're thinking about adding Bello for tomorrow, you need to add him for today. If you're going to do that, I think he is a solid option against the Rays. Probably a better option pitching him against the Rays than against the Twins, so it actually works out well for Ryan Bello. Cody Bradford threw 7 shutout innings with 6 strikeouts and a win over the Blue Jays. What a hard time breathing this morning. Jeez. I'm full of hot air. I'm letting it all out. Cody Bradford, I don't think I'm sick either. It's weird. Anyway, Bradford has been terrific this year. He was great. When there was a need with the Rangers, he missed time with injury. He came back. We weren't sure. They had 72 pitching options. All that seemed like the 72 pitching options got hurt. Cody Bradford's back in the rotation, and he's pitching very well. He's now got a .94 whip and a 6-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. He's going to face the A's on Tuesday in Oakland. The A's are a good offense. They're a much better offense than I think a lot of people give them credit for. They certainly are vastly better than they were at the start of the year when we were attacking them with pitchers. Lefties are a better bet against the A's than righties are, I think. I think it's fair to say that. So this, Bradford, the bottom line is Bradford's in play to start next week. And I think anyone that has him is probably thinking the exact same thing. I'm not breaking any news there. He's pitched very well again yesterday. And he's got that matchup coming up. Jose Quintana could be on the waivers in your league if this is the end of your season this week. Doesn't matter because he's not going to get another start this week. But if you're playing next week, he's Jose Quintana. He's boring. Who cares? All right. 2 hits, no runs, 4 strikeouts across 7 innings against the Nationals on Wednesday. And this is actually continued a remarkable stretch for Jose Quintana that everyone might have missed because, again, there's no reason to be paying attention really to Jose Quintana. But his ERA has gone from 4.6 to 3.7. How? He's given up 1 run since August 25th. 1 run. He's got a scoreless streak right now of 23 2/3 innings. Jose Quintana. So, before you just blow past his name if he's on the waiver wire, and you probably don't because you've probably been searching, ratio stats and stuff and noticed it. But if you hadn't, he's pitching fantastically right now. He's in a great groove right now. He does go to Atlanta to face the Braves. That is not an easy matchup, no matter where the Braves are at. But he's pitching so well right now. I think you'd even, I started Jakob Junis. I think you can give consideration starting Jose Quintana in that one against the Braves. Landon Knack, somebody that we talked about, was asked questions about him recently as well. I think it was either here on the show or in Discord. Shut out the Marlins over 5 innings, 7 strikeouts. The Marlins, and I wrote about the Marlins yesterday over at fantasyguru.com. I wrote about teams that are struggling pitching-wise, hitting-wise, bullpens, all this kind of stuff. And we talked about this recently. The Marlins are one of those teams that we're attacking right now with pitching. Marlins are just not hitting. And it's not necessarily all their fault. They have 5 of their guys in their lineup are legitimate big league starters, maybe 4, maybe 3. So it's not, you're attacking them. And Landon Knack went out and pitched very well. And the question with Knack is always, is he getting that next start? Well, with the way the Dodgers are lining things up here, I mean, he's set to face the Padres next time out, and I think he probably makes that start. And, I was reading a report that was suggestive that, he didn't necessarily locate his fastball very well last night, that there was some fortune there, but he has been effective this season. He has taken advantage of some good matchups. He struggled a couple of times, but for the most part, he's been very effective. And next time out against the Padres, looks like he's going to make that start as the Dodgers kind of get everything ready for the postseason. Some injured guys before we talk some football with Tyler Buecher. Bichette was scratched. I scratched the thing. Does anyone care? You're listening now. I get hundreds of people here listening on the show right now live. Does anyone care about Bichette? Bichette was a borderline fantasy superstar in the very recent past. Bichette this year has been awful. He was scratched from the game with the finger issue after he just made it back. And I jokingly saw a report, I think it was on Roto World, that he made it 1 game before getting injured again. Bichette is 26 years old. Okay, he had a 2020 100 season in 2021. He then hit 290 and 300 the last 2 years while averaging 22 home runs, 80 RBIs, and 80 runs scored. This year, he's got 4 freaking home runs. He's stolen 5 bases and he's hitting 225. A guy who from 2021 to 2023 averaged just about, let's say, 295, 25, 15 is on a full season pace this year to hit 225, 8, 10. I mean, there are lost seasons, and then there's this. 598 OPS. Just 96 isolated power mark, 96. He's going to be an absolute, he's going to be on everyone's, buy next year. Everyone's, this year's duds, next year's stars. Everyone's buy low list. I'll be fascinated to see where his ADP comes out. Because it'll be one of those scenarios. I bet it starts kind of low and everyone's talking about him so much that it rises. But it'll be fascinating to see how in people are. Is he a top 12 shortstop next year? The numbers this year say hell no. We'll see. Francisco Lindor, who's got the back issue, still hasn't resumed baseball activities. A little bit of concern there with Lindor because, this is we knew 3 to 5 days was kind of what they were anticipating. We could still have him hit that window. He could still be back by the weekend and everything. But it's a terrible time, obviously, for him to be dealing with the back issue. Luis Angel Acuna, I think he's 7 for 15 since he started his big league career, which is fantastic. I guess you could do the pivot to him if you haven't done it already, but he's not that guy either. It's kind of a Tommy Edman thing, but we need Lindor back. Fingers crossed that we get good news today, and we've got him back for the weekend series. Some negatives on the pitching side of things for the Dodgers. We were just talking about Knack. Why is Knack going to stick in the rotation? Well, Clayton Kershaw threw 80 pitches in a bullpen session yesterday. The hope is that he'll have an opportunity next week to throw one game. I don't think we can expect him to go 7 innings, 6 innings, maybe not even 5 innings, but go and make a start as they try to figure out what they're going to do with their rotation into the playoffs. Gavin Stone's got that shoulder issue he's been dealing with. Dave Roberts, the manager, basically said his season is over. So he goes 11-5 with a 3.5 ERA. Haven't seen him since August, so this is not breaking news or anything for anybody out there. But Gavin Stone was really effective this year and really stabilized the rotation that needed him with the Dodgers when it seemed like in April we wouldn't need him. So good work by the youngster there. Lance Lynn, who's on the 15-day injured list right now with the right knee issue. His season is over. That's a little disappointing because, again, we've talked about him so much. He's give me 5 1/3 innings, get the hell out of there kind of guy. At this point in time, it's not the end of the world to get that, as we're all aware. But his season's over. He'll be a free agent. He's 37 years old, I believe. So we'll see where he ends up. We're all expecting him to continue his career next season. And Brandon Williamson, who I added in one league for $1, I believe it was. We talked about this again on Monday. Torn UCL. So his 2-start week got me 2 innings. He tore his UCL coming back from injury. He's obviously done for this year. Given the timing of this, it's almost impossible to think he pitches next year for the Reds either. So next year's totally gone with Brandon Williamson. A really disappointing turn of events for a youngster that obviously the Reds had penciled into the rotation for years to come. This year's over. Next year is completely up in the air. So that's a very unfortunate scenario that has played out for Mr. Williamson. Over at fantasyguru.com, if you've got those questions, send them to me in Discord. I'm doing my best to help everyone out. I've got 5,000 things going on, but I'm doing my best to answer questions as quickly as I can on the baseball side of things because I know we're down to the days here with the end of the regular season for a lot of you. And head-to-head this week is your finals. So hit me up in Discord over at fantasyguru.com. You can try me on Twitter X at the Ray Flowers. I'm not answering as many questions there. Again, I'm answering zillions of questions in Discord over at the site for the users. If you want that question, that's probably the best place to get it. So again, you can try me on Twitter X at the Ray Flowers. Later today, I will have my cash game breakdown up, and I will be putting some bets in for baseball. I'll obviously be in Discord as well, helping folks out with some stardom, sit-em, and all that stuff for Thursday Night Football. Speaking of Thursday Night Football, this is Thursday, and every Thursday we're going to be visiting with my man, Tyler Buecher. Tyler does some great work for us over at fantasyguru.com. You see him all the time at the site. He's on the live stream on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern time. He's with us every Thursday here at about 12:30 Eastern time. He's in Discord all the time answering questions. He's a busy fella, and it's his favorite time of year. So let's bring him in. That is Tyler Buecher of fantasyguru.com. How are you doing today, Tyler? Oh, Tyler, we need your microphone on. Mic us up.
There we go. I'm doing great, Ray. Very excited to talk about some Thursday Night Football. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, it's I'm in the home stretch. I got a week and a half for baseball, and then I can fully go football. So I'm kind of
Yeah, I was just looking at my baseball futures, and I realized they all ended in like a week and a half, as you just said.
Yeah. How are you? Are you looking good there? Any of those feel like they're going to hit, or is it kind of a 50-50
I'll be honest,
scenario?
I was just really looking at the schedule to see when to look back on it.
Okay.
I'll circle back next week, and I'll give you an update.
I'm like that too. It's like a lot of leagues, like even in football leagues, like I play the matchup and I don't look until Monday. Like I know a lot of people are watching every minute of it. I don't even. It is what it is, right? The lineup is set. The games are being played. So, wish you luck. I'm sure you'll do well with that. We will have you with a bet later today, right? You're going to share something as you've been doing for Thursday Night Football.
Correct. Unfortunately, we ran a little cold week 2 because of the Tua Tagovailoa injury. Hope he's doing well in his little IR stint right now. But yeah, hopefully we'll get back on track with a week 3 winner for you guys.
All right, that'll come up in a few minutes, so stay tuned for that. That's Tyler Buecher. I'm Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. As I noted, you can get all of Tyler works over at the website. You can see there on the screen, and I'm telling you here, you can still get involved with this too. Don't think just because the season has started, you can't get involved. Subscribe tab in the top right corner. You can sign up for the seasonal product, the DFS product, the wagering product. Tyler, again, is kind of spearheads the wagering. He does the live stream Friday. Talk to the folks about the live stream. They may not know what a live stream is, but what's the Friday DFS live stream about that you're running this year for the site?
Sure. I do 2 different live streams for the website. On Friday, it's a DFS-centered one. We call it our Core 4 live stream, a little play off Jeff's cash game Core 4 that he's been doing for years. Basically, doing a rundown. I'll have a routine guest that rotates week to week. We're going to break down the slate position by position and try to help you guys win some money. We've had some good weeks so far to start the year, so really, really excited about the product. This upcoming Friday, tomorrow, I'll have Chris Rose as my guest. So excited to talk to him. He's the guy that writes our GPP article. So for anyone who's very tournament-centered, hoping to win some big bucks, he's the guy to listen to.
We might have Chris Rose on here in a bit to talk some college football. You never know. That might be coming in October, so stay tuned, folks. Tyler, let's talk a little bit about some big picture items before we get to tonight's game in particular. Jordan Love. Now, again, it's early in the week, and I mean, if you've got Aaron Rodgers, maybe you start him because you're not sure kind of thing, but we do have time before the Packers play this week, but we're hearing there's a chance he does play. What are your thoughts on the Packers offense? Malik Willis did as good as he possibly could have done last week. Still didn't do anything, but helped them win a football game. Are we starting Jordan Love if that knee allows him to go this week?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Reporters are calling it day by day. And I honestly just kind of think this is just gamesmanship by the Packers, forcing the Titans to game plan for 2 entirely different quarterbacks between him and Malik Willis. I still think the most realistic chance is for him to suit up next week against the Vikings, which will be a pivotal divisional matchup. Mm-hmm. So for me, I think this is really just a long shot. I always heard week 5 was probably the most likely, but considering the positive news, week 4 sounds more likely now. I don't see this happening in week 3, but if it does, I mean, I think we can at least upgrade all of the pass catchers for the Packers. Prior to that, man, you'd have to be in a tough spot to confidently plug any of these guys in. I know Dobbs got a little lucky with some volume there, 7 targets last week, 50 yards. I think he had the score too. But it's not a exciting click. It's not an exciting flex play. When we have 0 players on bye, I'm just waiting for the prop to drop for Malik Willis's passing yardage to hit it under once again. This is a ground and pound college type Navy or a service academy type of offense run with Malik Willis, and he and Josh Jacobs, I mean, credit to them. They ran all over the Colts. So I think it's a very exciting kind of matchup if Malik Willis does play for A, the narrative of him going back to the team he just left, and B, Matt LaFleur, former OC for the Titans, gets to go back and play his former team as well. So I think it's kind of an exciting matchup from that kind of narrative perspective, though.
At one period of time in the recent past, T. Higgins was a very exciting fantasy play. He was somebody that, was basically wide receiver 20, 23 every week, right? We're starting with confidence. Yeah, yippee-ki-yay, here we go. We've kind of forgotten all that because he just doesn't play, right? He wanted the contract in the offseason. It didn't work. He hasn't played this year. He had to even come out and address the rumors that, are you just not playing because you're pissed off? And he basically said, why would I do that? I got to get paid. If I'm not playing, I'm not getting paid. Okay. He's got a hamstring issue. We haven't seen him yet. Sounds like he could play this week, that kind of thing. Where are you at with T. Higgins? Like, is he, it's great he's coming back, but I can't play him this first week back. Is he immediately go into your lineup? What are your thoughts?
It's a tough question because it's well, Washington Commanders are who they face, which is the number one matchup in terms of what we could expect ceiling wise.
Right.
The problem is, like, my typical style of play is very bold and brash, but when it comes to injuries, I'm very conservative. I typically, outside of superstars, when a player is having a multi-week injury, especially a soft tissue one, I will wait until they return from injury and then throw them back into the fire. I'm very skeptical to throw them in. Like I said, it's a great matchup, so you are risking that. But we'll learn more when we get our injury reports here on today. It's a Monday Night Football matchup, so we haven't gotten anything official yet.
Right.
But at this time, I have Higgins benched in every single league where I own him. I'm just not going to run that risk right now.
And by the way, I'll say it. Tyler didn't say it, but I'm sure he's going to agree with me and nod his head when I do say it. I get everyone asking questions early in the week because it's hard to get answers all the time. But setting your lineup on a Wednesday night or a Thursday morning, what are you doing? I mean, unless you got guys playing on Thursday, what are you doing? Because like Tyler said, we don't even have reports on some of these guys yet. Everyone does it. We say it every year, don't do it. Doesn't stop anyone from doing it. And I love the, answer the question. I don't really know. Okay, I'll ask you later in the week. Now I have to answer your question twice. Okay, and it's like there's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people asking questions in Discord. We really would appreciate it if you'd ask the question once. It would help us all out a lot. To that end, we do have a situation brewing here with the Vikings. We've got, Aaron Jones is beat up in the backfield. But what I want to talk to you about is Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, these two guys. Jefferson's not hurt, right? He had the quad issue, didn't play a full complement of snaps last game, but he's not hurt. But the quad's an issue. Addison's got the ankle issue. Talk us through the receiving core this week for your Vikings, and it's Thursday. But what's your expectation for them right now? Sam Darnold's played pretty good through 2 games.
He has. My expectation is Justin Jefferson will be good to go. He practiced, I think it was a limited fashion on Wednesday. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, you're nodding. And then Addison sat out with that ankle injury, which, again, it's notable. It's the right ankle. It's not the left one that he had injured previously in the preseason. So this dude's just brittle right now. So I think it's great news that Justin Jefferson's good to go in what could be a shootout against Houston. Jalen Naylor, though, he's been the guy that's been stepping up in the absence of Addison. Scored a touchdown back-to-back weeks, 4 targets against the 49ers last week, and an 81% route participation mark. So he's their wide receiver too, by all means. I wrote him up last week as a DFS punt, and spoiler alert, I'm going to do it again this week because he's still underpriced. He's a good punt option here in week 3. So I think he's the guy that really stands to benefit the most. Houston's run defense, I think we could see some Ty Chandler action. But in terms of the passing game, I think it's going to be pretty consolidated between Justin Jefferson and Addison. And Naylor.
Yeah. Tyler Buecher of fantasyguru.com joining us here as he does every Thursday at about 12:30 Eastern time. Let's flip things over to the Texans. Lots of good vibes with the Texans, lots of positivity with the Texans. Some concerns, though, in the backfield. Joe Mixon's injured, and he didn't practice yesterday. Damian Pierce is injured. He didn't practice yesterday. Dario Ogunbowale and Cam Akers. Is it time, Tyler? Is this what's happening? What are we doing if either or both of those guys are on waivers still? You making a move on either one?
Yeah, let me tell you, we do a lot of work in the offseason, and one of the things that we do is a podcast called League Setups. And the default for way too many casual fantasy platforms is for waivers to process over Tuesday night. That's before we get a single injury report. The high stakes, they don't run until Wednesday for this reason exactly. Commissioners, this is my plea to you. Please push waivers until Wednesday so that we can take care of these types of injuries. Like, we didn't know Wednesday if Mixon or Pierce would be practicing, but because now we have that information, waivers that processed on Wednesday were able to take care of Cam Akers or Dario Ogunbowale if they wanted to. So I just wanted to make that plea to commissioners for them next year if it's not set up this way. Don't change the rules now. Don't do it midseason, but next season, mark this down. As far as like these guys, Akers is going to be the ground carrier, the early down guy, and Ogunbowale will be the pass catcher. Again, this is a game I'm expecting to be pretty high scoring. So I think Ogunbowale actually appeals to me as like a pass catching outlet receiver for the Texans. Vikings, they are a blitz heavy team that plays a lot of cover too. So if we're looking for some blitz beaters, Stephon Diggs is first on my list. He has like a 5.1 yard average at the target, really shallow. So I think he'll be the guy that they lean on quite a bit, 68% slot rate. Outside him, I think it could be Ogunbowale, who gets a lot of like dump offs, and he's their secondary blitz beater. So I think there's a path to him putting up a high PPR outing here in week 3.
Just a general question for you, Tyler. We get all these questions, which are the right questions. People are asking, how do I strengthen my roster? So-and-so was dropped. I'm making a move. there's a lot of players that I feel that are being added that should be added that shouldn't be started in week 3. Like, to me, like, if you're starting Ogunbowale, like, now, like, if you're in a DFS scenario and he's cheap, if you lost Joe Mixon and you've got no one else in the backfield, okay. But I mean, like, if you had to rank Ogunbowale at the running back position, is he running back 35 this week? Is like where? I just want people to have a context there, because you said, oh yeah, that doesn't mean you're telling people they've got to start Ogunbowale this week if those 2 guys above him are out.
Correct. You said ranking. First thing I thought it was RB36, so we're kind of in lockstep right there. The very tail end of RB3. So when you bucket like it, people commonly refer to RB1 as RB1 through 12, RB2 as RB13 through 24, and then I usually bucket RB3/flex because most starting lineups only have 2 running back spots. So when I'm judging that RB3/flex, I'm also adding the wide receiver 48 through 60 in that bucket as well. Mm-hmm. And more often than not, I'm going to choose the wide receivers over these types of running backs. So Ogunbowale, very, very down the priority list of a start, sit, redraft form. But in DFS, if he allows you to pay up for some studs, that's where I think we can make that kind of move.
Tyler Buecher of FantasyGuru.com joining us here on Fantasy Sports Daily. I want to throw up on the screen a comment here from Sean, because I know that everyone at FantasyGuru.com has commented on the backfield situation with the Chiefs. And if you go to Discord, a lot of people didn't know that anyone commented on it. It's very weird. I almost feel like sometimes the Discord folks don't ever look outside, because I know you talked about it on the live stream. I know that Armando and I talked about it here on this show. I know Jeff talked about it on Sirius, and people say, well, I can't watch all the shows. Can you watch one of them? Like, that's what you got to watch something here. That's what they're all for. I, on this show before Hunt signed on Tuesday morning, said I'd rank them Hunt, Pirine, Steele. I know that Jeff did the same thing. Armando disagreed, and I know you guys had some back and forth, but if I remember your live stream, you were not excited about any of these guys. And you look there, what Sean said, that he's seen money being spent on Steele and Hunt in the 25 to 50% range. I'm in a league in Scott Fishbowl, where I got Kareem Hunt for 14 of 100, and someone else in my league got Carson Steele for 100. They spent their entire budget on Carson Steele. What should have been spent now that it's all done, Tyler?
Well, time will
say
tell
to our audience here, because I know you said it on the live stream tonight.
Yeah, so on the live stream, I kind of went on a rant where I thought that this was a thing that we're going to look back on and probably not have a back that comes anywhere close to replicating the type of production and touch opportunity that Isaiah Pacheco is now forfeiting due to injury. Out 6 to 8 weeks. We've got a lot of moving pieces here in terms of new players being called up. Keontae Ingram added to the mix. Kareem Hunt added to the mix. Carson Steele really being more of a plotting type of early down grinder. Samaje Perine, a 34-year-old kind of big back as well that does great in pass protection and is a great outlet receiver. Excuse me. All of these guys, I think, are just really going to be more of a sum of the pieces than an individual piece that floats to the top. So for me, my big thing was I guarantee there's probably far higher upside plays on most waiver wires than spending 25 to 50% of your fab on one of these dart throws. A guy that's likely capped in terms of touches and opportunity relative to a player that could be an injury away from maybe a 20-touch opportunity, like Braylon Allen out there in way too many leagues. Ty Chandler, I had him to cover my waiver report, and he's only owned in 30% of all Yahoo leagues. There's so many high upside stashes that I think should take precedence and have a higher priority than any of these Chiefs backs where good luck. I mean, good luck if you're trying to start one of these guys. I have a lot of zero RB squads where I'm desperate to throw out anybody at this point.
Right.
And even I'm like struggling to find a reason to play anyone from the Chiefs. This is from a zero RB guy.
Yeah,
like,
right.
We try to get points where we can. I'm cool with Steele if you're expecting 40 yards and a touchdown, but anything more than that is good luck. Like the ceiling, like I'm saying, is capped. So spending 50% of your fab on either of these guys, when Kareem Hunt last year, 48th out of 49 in rush yards over expectation. He was 3.0 yards per carry. He was really just used as a goal line back. And if they're going to use Steele in that same kind of capacity, if they got Perine, who's a 230-pound back as well in that capacity, it just seems like there's so much gray area for a team that's already number 2 in pass rate over expectation. Maybe they lean in further into the pass and just neglect the run game even more. There's so many outs to this failing where I just thought spending a lot of fab was a foolish move.
By the way, just to say it, because Tyler made it sound like I was a complete moron, and maybe he'll say I'm a moron after I lay out my scenario why I spent 14% on Hunt. 2 weeks earlier, I spent $4 on Pirine. So I have P. Ryan and Hunt for 18 of the $100. It's in Scott Fishbowl. Scott Fishbowl's 22 roster spots. It's a very deep league. It's much different than your 16 or 15 that you're at home. Was that irrational for me to have done? Because again, I'm not starting Hunt this week, or I'm not going to start Hunt the first game he's active, if it's this week or not. I mean, he's more of a let's see if I can make this happen over a 2-month period of time. Does that make sense? I mean, 18% of my budget on P. Ryan and Hunt sounds a lot better to me than 25 to 50% of my budget on Steele.
Yeah, I don't disagree. The problem with that scoring format is it's point per carry, and that's where we really want the volume backs. And I just, again, don't see a path to any of these guys hitting volume. You're either want guys that are getting 15 to 20 carries or players that have return capabilities. I don't really see it with any of these guys. But unless you may have a poor RB situation where it made sense. So everything is situational. I'm just saying for most teams, there's probably superior waiver plays than trying to spend a lot of fab here in Kansas City.
Tyler Buecher, Ray Flowers here on Fantasy Sports Day. Let's talk a little bit about Thursday Night Football. Tyler, David Andrews, the center for the Patriots, a little beat up. Obviously, any team loses center is a big deal, so that'll go a long way toward determining how they have or don't have success in this matchup tonight against the Jets. Is there anything to see on the Patriots side of things? I mean, I guess Ramondre Stevenson's kind of the one shining light to date. The rest of the crew's kind of Hunter Henry had a nice game, one great game, one bad game. Break down what this team needs to do on offense tonight and what the Patriots are likely to have producing for us in terms of the fantasy output.
Yeah, you mentioned David Andrews questionable with a hip injury. They're going to be without starting left tackle Vidarian Lau, whose knee injury has kept him out. They're also without left guard Cole Strange, who's been placed on IR since the season opener. So we could be looking at a bunch of backups here. Not exactly ideal for a run-heavy team. The Patriots minus 9.1% pass rate over expectation, 25th heaviest in terms of run rate. They are 28th also in neutral script seconds per snap. This is a team that wants to play slow and run the ball quite a bit. And that's here to stay with Jakobi Brissett under center. This team is also so invested in their rushing attack. They play out a 6th offensive lineman at the highest rate among all offenses. This team just really wants to run the ball. And it makes sense. Like, those reinforcements, the 6th guy on the line is needed. Brissett has been pressured on 44% of his dropbacks, 3rd highest rate in the league. Now playing behind this beat-up offensive line. The Jets' pass rush did lose Jermaine Johnson to IR. They're still without Hassan Reddick with that weird contract. Jets
Mosley.
third. Yeah,
Mosley's
ugly.
Toe issue, yeah.
They've got to rush him back. I mean, the Jets are 3rd in overall pressure rate, 2nd in non-blitz pressure rate, so they're able to get home with their front four. Maybe that changes now with the rotation being less deep. But that's one thing that I'm really interested to see how that battle unfolds tonight, the battle in the trenches.
Yeah, and is there anything from a passing perspective at all? I mean, is Hunter Henry still, because I know he's the name everyone's going to want to start after last week, is that viable tonight? I mean, is it just like you're saying, we're going to throw 19 passes and try to run the ball 32 times and just win 14-13? Like, is that it?
Yeah, Brissett just does not trust his wideouts, understandably. He has the lowest wide receiver target distribution in the league at 38.3%. So just 1 out of every 3 passes essentially is going to the receivers. Otherwise, it's tight ends and backs. Looking at the top 4 guys in target share, Hunter Henry, 28%. Ramondre Stevenson, 16%. KJ Osborne, 16%. And then Austin Hooper at 10% is the 4th highest leading target share guy. I just don't see it. Like, we're staying away from all the Patriots wideouts and redrafts in a DFS showdown lineup. Sure, throw like a Jalen Polk in there to get different. He's winning off the line of scrimmage. He's just not getting targeted. And maybe you throw in Hunter Henry, who, listen, don't expect 100-yard outings from him every single week. The Jets did do pretty well against the tight end. They held Kittle under 50 yards. They held Okonkwo under 20 yards. They were top 10 in fewest fantasy points per game allowed to the tight end last year. So don't expect Hunter Henry to repeat. I know a lot of you probably chased him on the waiver wire. The tight end is just a very deep position of nothingness, and occasionally we'll get a blip on the radar. Maybe just hope for 4 for 40. That's what we can hope for Henry.
Tyler Buecher, fantasyguru.com. Tyler, let's go to the Jets side of things. I want to pull back before directly asking about tonight. Braylon Allen, who we've mentioned here, and I see he's mentioned in a comment here too. Like, to me, and again, I know you don't agree necessarily, but if you spent a 1st-round pick on Breece Hall, you should have drafted Allen. That you didn't have to spend a 7th-round pick. It wasn't like Harris and Warren or Pollard and Spears. You could have taken Allen in the 18th round, 17th round, 12th round, whatever the hell it was. A lot of people didn't do that. So now we have people this week who own Hall trying to get Allen. We have people that don't own Hall trying to get Allen because he scored 2 touchdowns last week. Who is Allen moving forward? Because to me, I don't know how anyone's going to be starting him. I mean, unless Hall goes down, you're not starting Allen, are you?
No, you're not. He's just the ideal pickup, and unfortunately, it's touchdown chasing. But I was really just excited about the usage. We could put the touchdowns in its own separate category. Just him getting on the field. I mean, we know this is a team that wants to lean on Breece Hall heavily, and that type of volume. I mean, a lot of backs can bend, but some do break, and that's why I think it makes sense to invest in a guy like Braylon Allen, who a rookie looks really good in terms of his usage to date. And I was more impressed that they used him as a pass catching back as well as the heavy hitting hammer that he was drafted to be. Again, the Jets are just a team that's going to run the ball heavily. They're going to play slow ball. So if there's a chance where Breece misses some time, I think Allen is a phenomenal pickup. I'd be trying to get ahead of the curve right now. And I know waivers have already processed for most leagues, but if he's out there lingering for some reason, and especially if you're a Breece Hall owner, I totally understand the handcuffing situation now, given this team just wants to lean on the backs. Like, there's just so much pass volume as well. Like, the checkdowns to Breece Hall, they're just so it's how they move the ball. Like, Aaron Rodgers consistently under pressure. He has the second lowest time to throw because he's consistently either A, not trusting the offensive line, or B, his old ass doesn't want to hit the ground. He's trying not to get it off. Yep. He's just dumping it off to get rid of it. So we're seeing Breece Hall with a lot of catches, a lot of underneath stuff. And I was really impressed to see Allen involved in the pass game last week, where I think he has that ability to also be a multifaceted back if that were to occur.
Yeah, I think Hall leads or is tied for the league lead for targets to the running back position. And that leads into the little bit the deeper discussion I wanted to have with Aaron Rodgers. Like, he hasn't looked good, doesn't look bad. He's Aaron Rodgers, right? And there should be moments where it's different than it's been the first 2 weeks. But the first 2 weeks, it's very much ball control, as you said. It's very much turnover avoidance. Does that change tonight against this Patriots team? Or are you expecting another 27 passes, 192 yards, and 2 touchdowns from Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, something like that. Again, like, only Tua throws faster than him. He's just quickly getting rid of the ball. He's only attempted 4 total passes in 2 games of 20-plus air yards or more. So a lot of it's the short yardage stuff. The ones that he did complete, though, 2 completions on those 4 attempts, both for touchdowns. So keep that in mind. Christian Gonzalez, the Patriots' top cornerback, is likely to shadow Garrett Wilson. All due respect to Gonzalez, he's not in the elite tier yet where we need to really fade any kind of things in terms of wide receiver cornerback analysis. He tailed Jamar Chase and DK Metcalf these last 2 weeks. Chase 6 for 62, Metcalf 10 for 129 and 1. And Gonzalez won't chase these guys into the slot, where we'll see Wilson move all around the formation for the Jets. I think there's a bounce back in the cards for Garrett Wilson, who had kind of a quiet week. He had 2 drops. There was also an opportunity for him to put up a massive play that Aaron Rodgers just didn't see him because of the pass rush by the Titans last week. So maybe there's a chance that he gets back on track here in week 3, excuse me. But as far as Aaron Rodgers, I mean, it's just a low ceiling play. You're really only looking at it for Superflex. And again, these are 2 teams that are going to lean heavily on the ground. They're going to wind the clock all the way down to like 3 or 2 or 1 seconds left before snapping it. So in terms of total play volume, which again, volume drives everything in fantasy, this is probably going to be capped here in this Jets-Patriots game.
So this is going to be the traditional Thursday night football game, most likely, Tyler. That's basically what you're saying.
Right. Yesterday I had a note that I didn't get a chance to talk about. I'm sorry, last week I had a note that I didn't get a chance to talk about how we were excited for the Bills-Dolphins. Week 3 is going to be an entirely different story. So this is going to be the start of the Snorefest. Yes, that's very accurate.
Jets win this game. You don't have a problem with that, right? If we had to pick them,
I don't have a lean here, honestly. Okay. If I were to make a bet, it wouldn't be against the spread. It'd probably be on the under on the 38.5. That would probably be my lean. But no real strong takes. I did pick the Jets in our staff pick them, but I don't really have a lean against the spread.
You're mentioning betting, wagering there. You always have something for us here on the show to wet people's whistle, to give them an opportunity to have some success. Hopefully get them over to fantasyguru.com to subscribe to the package there. But what do you got to share with the folks today?
Yeah, the Patriots offensive line hit hard by injuries. We kind of mentioned everybody. They could be up to 3 of the 5 starters potentially not playing. My bet is a same game parlay where we're adding 2 different plays. Ramondre Stevenson, 2+ receptions. Breece Hall, 4+ receptions. So we're going to combo that over on FanDuel. It's -111. I found that last night. FanDuel also has this great boost of a 50% plus parlay up to $100. So depending on your unit size, I think that's worth targeting. But basically, it's kind of what we've talked about. Brissett not trusting his wideouts, the Jets getting quick pressure, the inability for them to run the ball successfully in this game, I think could also be an important factor. The Patriots pass rushing offensive line just does not really get it done. They're not providing a lot of yards before contact. Stevenson, he's he's doing really well, but a lot of his touches have been with him getting hit and met right at the line of scrimmage. So give me the check down angle here for Stevenson. He picked up 2 receptions at least in every game so far, route totals of 21 and 20. And then Breece Hall, he's just been a workhorse for this team. And we know Aaron Rodgers likes to use the back as an outlet, swing passes, screens. They just become so commonplace. He's caught at least 4 receptions in every game to date. Route totals similar to Stevenson of 22 and 21. So I like this combination of plays where I don't expect either ground game to have a ton of success, but the short area passing game probably to be the way how most of these two teams move the ball.
Looking at some of the comments, Tyler, in the chat room there. There's the game, dude. They sniffed at 38.5 total line. You're not saying that's your bet of the day here, but you said you wouldn't have a problem going with the under, just to reiterate what you just said, correct?
I would lean under. Yeah, I would not play the over on 38.5. Okay. If you want to create some parlays, you can jack it up above 40, which is a key number in betting. So I would put it up to 40.5 and hit the under and add some other things if you want to.
Hal says, is Hassan Reddick going to play this year? Doesn't seem like he wants to play football. Second team, he's done this. I mean, who's going to trade for him now? Tyler, what's going on?
Yeah, he wants to go be a ninja somewhere. I don't know. He's doing all these crazy things in Japan. He's fun to watch, but I'm just shrugging my shoulders. I have no answer for this.
Chris F says, the matchup article from Ray, which just was posted at fantasyguru.com, the wide receiver coach from you later, he said, Thursday is great reading day, so Chris appreciates what you do, Tyler.
He appreciates what you do as well. Thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate the kind words.
There you go. Look at that. A question long-term. Taylor, S says, when Drake May gets a starting job, what pass catcher would you be interested in with the Patriots? Is there someone that you've identified when that quarterback change occurs with May that you like more than maybe you do now with Brissett?
Yeah, so we're going to have a totally different type of offense here, which is why it's really tricky in terms of spending a lot of fab on a guy like Hunter Henry, where he's doing really great in this Jacoby Brissett offense, but Drake May is an entirely different quarterback. He's a gunslinger that wants to go for the aggressive home run hitter. He's a guy that will take off and run with the ball much more frequently than what we've seen from Brissett, and he's a guy that wants to go vertical. So Javon Baker, the rookie out of UCF, he's the guy that I'm really excited for as a second half stash. You don't need to pick him up right now. There's a chance that we don't see May for a couple weeks. The Patriots are playing close games. They got the upset on the Bengals. They took the Seahawks to overtime, which is, again, why I'm not confident in a betting against the spread here. That would be my answer, Javon Baker. He's a very, very explosive pass catcher. We have a write-up on his NFL draft profile over on the site on fantasyguru.com.
Hal's got a question, not about this week, but just in general, since we were talking about the Jets and their passing attack. With the low volume of the Jets, does Mr. Wilson there, who's obviously everyone's wide receiver one, is he capped? Is there a ceiling based upon what we've seen thus far and what you're expecting tonight? Is there that ceiling with Garrett Wilson that maybe he's not getting 110 catches and scoring 12 touchdowns this year?
See, I think he will overcome it because of his ability to earn a ton of first read targets. There's a lot of plays where it's just immediately going to him, whether it be a curl, a slant, a back shoulder, an out. They are designing plays to get the ball in his hands. And when you look at the other wideouts, Mike Williams, how long is he healthy for? Alan Lazard, I'm not buying that. His week 1 performance was so fluky. If you watch that game, he got a touchdown on a broken play. His second touchdown came with Tyrod Taylor in the game. I'm not chasing that productivity. It's really around Garrett Wilson and it's around Breece Hall. That's how this offense is going to operate. My dog just walked behind me.
I didn't see him, so we're good. Envy does say hello. My cat's always in here too, so it's fine.
So that's my answer. I think that there's a chance that Garrett Wilson still returns what you invested in terms of it being maybe a top 15 selection in your fantasy draft. Mm-hmm. But probably more the back end wide receiver one than the front end that I was kind of bullishly hoping for.
Final question to ask you, Tyler, and this is from Jay Too Nice or Hobby Too Nice. We will answer this, but just so you know, Jay and everyone else, we're not taking this kind of question. Okay, it's an either or kind of thing. If you want to say, hey, do I start, Dallas Goedert or Dalton Kincaid, we can answer that. But we're not going through entire lineups and saying, hey, do I need to switch anything? But I don't think I've said that directly, so I'm saying it now. We're going to answer it because you asked, but we're not going to be doing this moving forward. It's an either or kind of scenario, which quarterback, which running back, that kind of a thing. Looking at this lineup, I'm never benching Evans ever. I'm looking at. Wait, I'm trying to see here. Yeah, Mike Evans. Mike Evans on the bench and Rashid Shaheed starting. Never, right? Really? Are you going to change? Are you going to go Shaheed over Evans?
Yeah, Evans got Patrick Surtain this week. We've seen him shut down back-to-back good receivers in DK Metcalf and George Pickens.
Right.
I think Evans doesn't have that juice to evade a guy like him.
Okay.
I think it's more of a Godwin week. And I'm.
Are you? Probably, let me. I directly ask you because I have Shaheed in multiple leagues, and I'm in a different scenario. I would never. I'm just not benching Mike Evans for Shaheed because Shaheed, though he's been utilized differently in the Kubiak offense and doing some more things underneath, he's still a 4 or 5 target guy. Like this is not. He scored on a couple of huge plays, and the offense has been great through 2 weeks, but they're not scoring 40 points a week, and they've been so efficient. Like, are they going to throw it 35 times? I'm still going Mike Evans over Shaheed. Would you disagree this week?
I probably would, yes.
Okay.
But I am also a person that will play matchups a bit more. I put a bit more weight in them than draft capital, like of what we had initially spent.
Right.
And that does bite me. There are times where I'm reading game scripts wrong and I totally fall flat on my face. I will admit that. But it also provides some ceiling weeks that I would otherwise leave on my bench. And against the Eagles secondary that's giving up so many big pass plays, I just think Vic Fangio has the pieces in the cupboard. He just doesn't know how to put them all together right quite yet. Okay. And we've seen the Saints just take their foot off the gas. They've just been coming out to these massive leads. I think a game against the Eagles could be more of a back and forth game where they have to pass for the entire 4 quarters and not let off at halftime.
2 questions for you before we leave here. One, would you start Goddard or Kincaid at tight end? And secondly, we've got Goddard, Hurts, and Barkley. Great offense, but I always am uncomfortable when we have 3 guys from one team like that in a lineup.
I agree. For me, I would make that swap to Kincaid over Goddard. I understand playing it with A.J. Brown out, but to me, I think Kincaid's in a far better matchup against a Jaguars secondary that, man, under a new defensive coordinator, what's his name, Ryan Nielsen, they are just playing so much man coverage, which is so out of the blue for a Jaguar secondary that A, has already lost starters Tyson Campbell and Darnell Savage, and B, it sets up really well for an athletic guy like Kincaid to just burn a one-on-one matchup. So I think he's in a great spot. Goddard really fell flat last week. They were really just using him as like a dump-off option. They were not trying to get him going in terms of any vertical capacity. So I'm really hesitant to see it. I'm almost in like need to see it first with Goddard, where I'd rather play Kincaid, knowing that there's a chance that the Jaguars defense stout up front on the defensive line shuts down the Bills' rushing attack and makes them pivot to the pass in this matchup. And I agree with you. There's a lot of Eagles here to start.
Yeah. How bad has the tight end position been thus far? I mean, we always know, right? But even Mark Andrews had that terrible week 1. Kelsey's been 2 games in a row. He's never been this bad. Laporta's Kincaid, like it's been awful. Even the guys at the top have struggled so far. Tyler.
The best one you could argue is Brock Bowers at tight end 7. As a guy who invested a lot of best ball drafts with elite tight ends, I am waiting for more weeks to play out. Let's just hope it's been a small 2-week sample here and better days lie ahead.
Tyler Buecher joins us every Thursday at about 9:30 Eastern time. I want to thank him for his time today. Tyler, what are you doing in preparation for the game tonight? You've got the wide receiver, cornerback, what are we titling it? Your wide receiver piece?
I changed it. So like wide receiver, cornerback just seems a bit outdated. I changed it to I wanted to call it wide receiver versus coverage schemes.
Okay.
But I'm a little more. Well, I think I'm creative. I'm probably not. I called it scheming for success as a little play on words there. Okay. So I do that every Wednesday. That'll be out like before our Thursday show.
Okay.
And then that's a launching point for the DFS article that comes out Thursday. A lot of the coverage schemes that we're expecting for defenses to roll out helps point me in the right directions once we combine salaries for DraftKings and FanDuel and how those kinds of matchups and rosters kind of come together. So Thursday, I do my DFS wide receiver article. Friday, I've got the betting show with Russell Clay and Rob Brink. We go every game against the spread. We talk Survivor. RIP to anyone who started Bengals or Ravens these last 2 weeks. I'm already out. Is what it is. But we're still going to talk about it for those that are still competing. Friday evening, I've then got my DFS video show where we go through the entire slate, talking how we're looking at each upcoming slate of games. This is a really fun one. Last week, what was it, like 10 games in the 1 o'clock window and 3 in the 4 o'clock. This week it's 7 and 5. So if you like to play split slates, it's a very good slate for you. There's also a Monday Night Football doubleheader. Really, really fun week for DFS. Saturday, I've got my game script article. Sunday, then you guys can catch me in our chat room over at Discord answering any start sits 90 minutes before kickoff. But yeah, feel free to tag me with any questions. I admit I'm a little slow at answering them now. This is the busiest time of the week when I'm diving really headfirst into these types of matchups and stuff, but I will get back to you guys if you do tag me.
Tyler Buecher, laying it all out for you. Great work. You see him here on the show for free. Get over to fantasyguru.com, get the articles, get the breakdowns, see the live streams and all that stuff that he's in charge of over there at the site as well. Tyler, thanks for your time as always today. We'll see you in a week, and good luck starting tonight in week number 3.
You too. Thanks for having me.
You got it. Tyler Buecher of fantasyguru.com. Finally, before we move on here and close things down for the shop, just wanted to give a note to Jason Ellis. Thanks for keeping baseball content going, Ray. Much appreciated. You got it, Jason. Got some Tigers behind me. I know it's an old picture. It's Porcello and Verlander, for those of you who were wondering. But Tigers making a playoff push? Who would have thought? So we'll continue to talk baseball down the stretch here, obviously with that focus on football as well. Thanks to all of you for listening, for joining, for asking questions. Thanks to Tyler Buecher. Tomorrow's Friday, so we'll be visiting with Russell Clay about half an hour into the show. Baseball to start, football the second half. And as I noted earlier, we might be, and we're toying with the idea of potentially talking some college football on Fridays. So once the baseball season is over, that might be something we're doing here on the show too. So stay tuned for that. For Tyler Buecher, I am Ray Flowers. This has been Fantasy Sports Daily, Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Time, powered by fantasyguru.com.